Alright, and the last one of tonight is the Inquisitor of the Tome. A medium humanoid? No? Wow, there's no alignment here. Oh, interesting. I wonder if that means they're getting rid of it. Anyways, 11 AC or 14 with mage armor. I'm really surprised they didn't have the Tome also have a breastplate. The other two did. A medium humanoid, as I said, with 14 D8 hit dice and a constitution of 12. And should also be a CR8 with a proficiency bonus of 3. Alright, moving into the skills area, we have 3 saves of int, wisdom, and charisma, so all the lower end stuff. And we have some skills, condition immunities, and nothing else to worry about from the skills area. And surprisingly enough, our Inquisitor of the Tome doesn't have any traits. There's nothing here to work with, so we can skip right down into the action section as well as a reaction later on. So looking at our actions, we have a multi-attack of two attacks. Just doesn't matter. The Inquisitor attacks twice, so we can pick whatever we want. And with that, we have a +7 +7 to hit, regardless of if it being a force bolt or a long sword. Oh, that's right. Here we go. What would normally be in the monsters trait section is the innate spellcasting and probably implode, but because these are actions to use, they've been moved into the action section, which is important. And then we also have Force Bolt. So let's move over to the workspace here. Force Bolt is going to be, let's see here, 22 points of force damage and can push a target 10 feet away. We also have the Silvered Longsword, which is standard at a 9.5 for two-handed because they're not using a shield, so might as well use the higher damage, plus the 18 force damage as well. And then we also have innate spellcasting. Detect magic, dispel magic, levitate, mage armor, which we calculated into its armor, mage handing, sending, these are all at will, and then odorlux, resilient sphere, and telekinesis. Alright, without wasting time on either of those spells, I will have to skip over the innate spellcasting because none of these are doing direct damage, although they will probably be extremely handy for figuring out where a possible overrating is coming from. So once I've worked this out and I have some more time to look at it, more than likely the shorts version of this will give us the correct value. So we have, lastly, Implode, which recharges on 4 to 6. So 50% of the time we are going to see this. So we're going to see this probably 2 out of 3 rounds of combat. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the Inquisitor can see within so much feet must succeed on a Constitution save or take 31 points of force damage and be knocked prone. So we can do this probably 2 out of 3 times in combat, and we are more than likely aiming for at least a minimum of 2 players or targets for this, dealing a total of 31 points times 2 for 62 points of damage. Alright, well, looking at our attacks, we're going to probably do 2 silvered longswords, since they do the most amount of damage, which is customary between all of these Inquisitors at 55 points of damage. And we'll come down to figuring out our combat damage here. Well, the multi-attack is actually less than the implode, so we would first off start with an implode. And then after that, we would more than likely do a multi-attack. And then probably, regardless of if it's round 2 or 3, on a recharge of 4 to 6 and it being 50% of the time, we're more than likely guaranteed to see this come back again on the 3rd round of combat. So I'm going to suggest that the implode would come back probably on round 3. Again, it doesn't matter if it's on round 2 either, then the multi-attack would just be used on round 3. They're interchangeable. And we end up with a full attack of 59 points of damage. And so far we're looking at an a overrating of 2. So far our Inquisitor of the Tome is a CR6. Before I go any further, we have a reaction. Forgot about that. Telekinetic deflection. Okay. In response to being hit by an attack roll, the Inquisitor increases its AC by 4 against the attack. If this causes the attack to miss, the attacker is hit by the attack instead. Alright, this is probably where the bonuses are coming from. So, let's go ahead and add in 4 temporary bonus AC. So we're going to hit that for flying and magic resistance, which will give us +4 bonus, and only brings us up 1 step. We shift to a CR7, which is really surprising. So even with the DC 15 or the attack of 7, we're looking at a CR7, slightly overrated Inquisitor of the Tome.